Hey guys, welcome back to Reptiles. Today we have a special guest, one of our dear friends. Her name is Hannah, and she has a story she wanted to share with us and with you guys because she's been watching some of our other videos. So Hannah, welcome to Reptiles.
Thank you, Nate.
And so you had a story you wanted to share with people.
Yes, it's a story that I don't remember. It's from when I was 3 years old, my mom said. And it was outside when I was 3. I have an older brother, 2.5 years older. And my mom had killed a snake when we were outside with a hoe. We lived on a farm. Any snake we saw, we did not want around the house. And my brother had picked up that snake with the hoe and spun around with it. And the snake had fallen off of the hoe and wrapped around my legs. I don't remember it, but apparently this was traumatic and stayed with me for years. I'm 39 years old. But when I was in 7th grade, they had a thing called Snakes Alive. So all the 7th graders went into this one classroom, or a large classroom, and brought in snakes from this facility. And I was in the front row. I was so excited. I didn't know I was scared of snakes or had any prior experience with snakes. Mm-hmm. And the first snake they brought out was a red-eyed albino snake. I don't know what kind of snake. Gave it to the person next to me, and I bolted.
You just panicked.
I panicked. At first I was like, I took a couple deep breaths. I can do this. You're okay, Hannah. You can do this. And something said, no, you can't. And I went home for the rest of the day. Since then, however many years ago, I've been scared of snakes, and I'm tired of being scared of snakes.
So you're today at 39 still as terrified as you were all the way back then in 7th grade.
Yes.
And have you since then had very many encounters with snakes? Other than like at a zoo?
Very few.
Very few. Okay.
Yes. I go to my best friend's house, and she lets me know there is a snake in my hand, and I say, don't hug me. I will stand at the front door until it's up. And I make sure that every snake is up before I go to bed. So I can be in the same house as a snake, but when they're out of the cage, I'm tired of being scared of snakes, especially with my best friend loving snakes.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. So one of the things that a lot of people have fears of snakes, and obviously with Hannah, yours comes from a traumatic experience. Some people's are not just a traumatic experience. Sometimes it comes from they just have this innate fear. They're afraid that they think they're going to bite them or attack them, or they're going to be slimy. A lot of people believe snakes are slimy, which is actually not true. So one of the first steps in overcoming any fear is becoming comfortable with the thing that you're afraid of. Just like what you said, being in the same house as one is a big deal for you.
Yes.
So, getting used to just being in the same building as a snake and knowing that snake is in there. Being in the same room with a snake and knowing that snake is in there. But then taking small steps as you get more and more comfortable. I would assume you've been to your friend's house several times knowing that there's a snake in there now.
Yes.
But you've still not, interacted with the snake. It's just the snake is there and you know it's there, but you're now okay with it.
I know it's in its cage, because I will see it in its cage, and then I can go to bed.
Right. Yep, that makes a lot of sense. So today you want to take another step in your kind of overcoming your fear of snakes.
Yeah.
So we're going to help Hannah with overcoming her fear of snakes, and we don't know how far this is going to go yet. but we are going to bring out one of ours. We're going to bring out our ball python Love, and we're just going to, I'm going to have her here on the couch with us, and I'm going to let Hannah dictate how much interaction she has with Love. Because you never want to, when someone's afraid of something, you never want to force that on them, because that's not going to help the situation. That's actually going to make it worse. I don't know how much experience you have with any of that, but I've seen people that were absolutely terrified in the past, and someone tried to force it on them, and it set them backwards in how comfortable they were with it.
I don't have any questions about that, but I do have other questions.
Okay.
With a ball python, you hear of it squeezing like the arm or the neck.
Right.
How true is that with your snake?
So with ball pythons, with ours, with Love, so there's two types of snakes. There's obviously venomous snakes, which ball pythons are not venomous, and then there's constrictors, and what constrictors do is when they're eating, they wrap themselves around their prey in order to squeeze it to death, and then they can eat it. So her constricting is a feeding mechanism, for lack of better terms. And she's going to know that you and I are not food because we are way too large for her to eat. Now, yes, if I'm holding her, she will be wrapping around my arm. She'll be, if I got her on my shoulders or neck, she might wrap around, but she's not squeezing. She's just kind of holding on. Okay. So it might feel like there's a little bit of tightness if she's like around my neck, but she's not squeezing. She's just holding on because she doesn't have hands to hold on like I would hold on to something. So her body is her hands. That's how she grips things.
So I'm not in danger.
No, you won't be in any danger. And like I said, we go at your pace, your speed, everything that you're comfortable with.
And her mouth.
And her mouth can be wherever you want it to be, but I will say that we have had this snake for more than 4 years, and she has not bit anybody ever. Okay. Even when I've been feeding her, she's never bitten.
What would happen?
So if she were to bite you, again, I've never been bit by any of our snakes, but she is not venomous, so there's no danger to the bite itself. Okay. Everything that I've heard on any other reptile informational is any bite that you would get from something like a ball python kind of feels like a cat scratch. So it's not going to hurt more than your cat scratching you, which everyone that's had a kitten has been scratched by a cat before. So, but a lot of times when I'm trying to introduce someone to a snake, we take her out in public quite a bit. And so if someone's a little bit uncomfortable, I'll always keep her head away from them just as a precaution anyways. So I'll always keep the head further away and say, if it's little kids and they're a little nervous, hey, go ahead and pet the tail. And, you know, as you get more comfortable, then you can get into holding and things like that. So, okay?
All right.
All right. All right, guys. So this is Love. I went ahead and got her. I didn't have her for the beginning of the video. Now, Hannah, have you been this close to Love before?
No.
No. So this is the farthest she's the closest she's gotten to her, I should say. So, like I said, she is very, very docile. Again, has never bit anybody in the 4+ years we've had her. So. And she is just kind of exploring around. She probably wants to get to somewhere dark so that, you know, she feels safe. When they're out in the open, they do feel a little bit exposed. So.
I want to touch her tail, but her head keeps moving.
There you go. She's not slimy, right?
No, she's not slimy at all.
She's not even terribly cold. And I would say that this is one of the better snakes as far as people getting used to and comfortable with snakes, just because, again, ball pythons aren't venomous, so you don't have to worry about really getting, you know, any sort of damaging injuries. but also she's very calm and gentle. And she's great with children as well. This is the first time you've ever touched her.
Yes.
Yep. Or any snake, really.
Yes. Voluntarily. We had a black snake trying to come in our house once. And my husband stepped on it so that it wouldn't come in. And he goes, pull it out, pull it out. And I'm like, what? I have to pull it out. You pull it out.
That makes sense.
And so I grabbed a jacket to grip it because I couldn't hold it. The weird thing is, I can hold geckos all day long.
Yeah, there's a little less stigma, I think, with lizards over snakes. So a lot of people have a fear of snakes, regardless of what they've experienced trauma. And I think they just have a bad reputation with a lot of people. So they kind of get nervous. Our head's way down there. You're doing great. I can feel your tension, but you're doing great. I'm also not going to let her get down, because then who knows where she'll end up. And ball pythons are great hiders, by the way. So they will find the smallest, darkest spot to go hide so that they'll feel safe. So she'll end up in a closet, under a bed or dresser, possibly up inside this couch somewhere, if she gets out and down. And I don't know if you were aware, but you are kind of half holding her.
I know. Her tail's really strong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's very muscular. They're very, that's kind of that constrictor body build, is they're very muscular build, because they have to have that strength in order to do the constricting. So
That's her lifeline.
yep. So with snakes, the one thing that, as far as I was saying, she's not likely to just bite us just to bite us. The thing that they're looking for is they are not going to try to eat something that is bigger than them, because they can't fit it in their mouth, because they can't cut things up or bite things because they don't have hands. So a snake is only going to eat something that's about the size of the fattest part of their body, or maybe just a little bit larger. So the rats that she eats are roughly the size of the fattest part of her belly. So, our arms are substantially fatter than that. So yeah. she couldn't even get our hand in her, in her mouth.
See, she's curling around my hand, and that's a little weird.
She's just chilling. I think the way it feels when their muscles are kind of twitching as they're moving, it feels so cool to feel them move. You have her all on your own. You're doing great.
Okay, you can take her.
That was fantastic. So how do you feel right now?
That was a whole lot easier than I thought it would be.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts aside from it was easier than you thought it was going to be?
It's not scary. She's not scary.
She's very deliberately kind of slow moving. She doesn't
Yeah.
jerk her. She sometimes will jerk her head around. She doesn't love having her face touched. So if I were to go try to touch her face, she's gonna jerk away from that. But for the most part, she's not just like whipping her head around or kind of making what people would kind of associate as a strike. She's not doing any of that. She's just kind of meandering around and exploring and figuring out where she's at. So, I was kind of touching her side of her face, and she didn't like that, so she moved that way. But she is okay with, my hand on her face. She just doesn't want to be like poked and prodded in her face, which you and I don't either.
Yeah.
So it's understandable. But do you have any other questions or thoughts?
If I see a snake in the wilderness, don't touch it, right?
So what I always tell my own children, and we have 3 snakes, and they're very comfortable with snakes, is when you see an animal in the wild, that animal is a wild animal. It is not a pet. And so you cannot predict or know how it's going to respond, whether or not it's venomous or not. If you're approaching it out in the wild, you're going into its territory versus, it's in ours right now. And so it's going to feel defensive. And so you can never know and anticipate how it's going to respond. Some are going to be okay with it. Most of the time, from everything that I've ever seen, heard, and read, is that in those situations, they're going to try to get away from you first. But it's when they feel cornered that they're going to maybe try to strike or something. So I've always tried to teach my kids, hey, when you see them in the wild, observe them and enjoy looking at them because they're beautiful. But for the most part, let's try to leave the wild animals alone so that they stay safe and there's less risk of us accidentally, picking up a venomous snake that bites us to begin with. So that would be always my, people ask, oh, does she bite? And like I said, she's never bit, but the thing that I always tell people is anything with a mouth can bite. So you just have to know that it can bite. If I'm going to be respectful and stay calm and stuff like that, she's just going to be chill like this. If I start whipping her around and stuff, she might not like that, and I don't know how she's going to respond to that.
Right.
So, but yeah, if you see a snake in the wild, for the most part, I would just leave it alone. The snakes that you see around your farm or your parents' farm or whatever, most of the time those around our area are going to be like black snakes or something like that. But if you're close to the woods, you might end up seeing some copperheads, things like that. But the black snakes are good because they would help keep away like rats and mice and stuff like that, the pests. But I prefer not to have copperheads that are on my property to begin with. So, all right, guys. Well, that is a video where we are helping somebody, our friend Hannah, overcome her fear of snakes. And we appreciate you watching, and please hit that like and subscribe button and follow us for more videos. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.